Hello and welcome to the episodes 3 to 6, so the final 3 episodes of Back in the Groove. Right, so quick recap, the ladies have all 3 suitors left each. Sparkle has chosen Akio, Steven and Lee. Steph has chosen Quinton, Leroy and Giuseppe, and Brooke has Crew, Gary and Matt. Look, I know we're not supposed to take shows like this too seriously, but I like to suspend a lot of my cynicism so I can just really enjoy it. And I gotta say, like, if Sparkle ends up with Steven, I'm gonna be quite cross. So anyway, Steph says that she's not too scared of being in a relationship anymore. She's going to invite Leroy over later. Brooke says that she has something very intimate planned for her date tonight. She asks Crew if he wants to go out on a date, and she says she wants more of Crew tonight. She asks him then to give her a tattoo. She wants a little firework on her arm. Remember, they had kissed while watching the fireworks a couple of episodes back. Anyway, he decides to get a tattoo too, and he tells her that he thinks that he's falling for her. They're moving so fast, but they seem to be on the same page, so fine. Steph invites Leroy around. They're good, I guess. She says that she really likes him. She's been out on dates, but she hasn't stopped thinking about him. The ladies all chat the next morning then, and Brooke shows off her tattoo. Steph invites her 3 guys, Giuseppe, Leroy, and Quinton, on a date, and she and Giuseppe go off for a little bit for a one-on-one chat. He tells her that she raised a really good kid in Steven, and he shares that he grew up mostly homeless and his mom abandoned him at 14, but he turned it around. She then has a one-on-one with Quinton. He's a bit more subdued than Leroy. I prefer him over Leroy, but Steph says that she's not sure if they have that fiery passion. Leroy says that as they get closer together, even though he is friends with Steven, he'll have to pull back. There might be some boundaries there, you know, something any normal person would say. Steph is a little taken aback by this, and Leroy explains that if they were to be intimate, he can't just keep saying things willy-nilly to Steven, whereas before, if they were just friends, he kinda could. Steph says that she kinda gets what he's saying, but she doesn't like it. Sparkle is looking stunning, and she invites Lee over for a little date in her part of the hotel. He's so eager, it's cute, but I kind of wanted her to reconnect with Akio after the whole Steven mess. Anyway, she opens up about the murder of her sister who was a victim of domestic violence, her mother's depression, but the way that her mother also was always there for her and how she became a stylist. They frolic in the pool a little bit and it's a good date, but I don't think he's going to be number 1. Gary makes a charcuterie board for Brooke and I absolutely loathe charcuterie boards with a passion, but this is so random and cute. Go Gary. Steph talks to Steve and tells him that she doesn't know if Leroy's mature enough for a relationship. It's clear now why Steph had issues with Leroy saying that he might have some boundaries, which, I mean, I guess we did know already that they were really close. Brooke reveals to Matt that she got a tattoo on her date, and he tells the guys. Gary thinks that Crew should have said something about the tattoo, and he's like, Crew, what happened to the bro code? Crew says that he didn't come on the show for bros. Anyway, Gary walks away. He's quite riled up and upset about it. Akio and Sparkle finally have a chat. He's very attractive. I think he's the one. He has to be. But it's quite a short date. There's also a twist at the end where Steph says that she's not ready to let Giuseppe go. So he's one of her chosen guys. Lee and Matt are going home tonight. Lee was really cute and gracious about being let go. In episode 7, the ladies chat, and to their credit, they're very funny and unserious about the whole Steven thing. Like, it almost makes me forget that I really hate it. The women, Sparkle and Steph, go on a double date. Sparkle disappoints by leaving Akio behind. Why? We're in episode 6. Anyway, this date does look really fun. They go jet skiing. Still though, this mother-son double dating situation, I hate it. Steph tells Leroy that she can see herself eventually falling in love with him. He says that he doesn't want to say anything just because they're in the Groove Hotel. He wants to be kind of real about it, but he loves the idea of it, and you can see that he's kind of on the same page. He's just not ready to say the words yet, or he's not there yet. She senses some hesitation. Gary and Brooke have a chat, and he says that the tattoo thing triggered him a little bit. He talks about a high school college girlfriend who he was in love with, but she wasn't in love with him, and he says that this was one of the worst things, to love somebody who doesn't love you back. I'm sorry, Gary, but are we really still hung up and crying over a high school college crush? He's 30 years old. I mean, I know people process things differently and it's valid and all that, and Brooke also shares her experience of unrequited love, so she understands it. Still though, a guy kind of crying over his high school college love, that's a red flag to me. Anyway, eventually Gary asks Brooke if she's all in on Crew. She's honest then, and she says that her heart is all with Crew, and he says he's going to check himself out. He's very calm and gracious about it. You know, I'm always very interested to see how the guys handle rejection. It is really telling of their character. He goes and he talks to Crew Crew, and he says that he gets that Brooke wants to be with Crew and he's checking himself out, but that he basically wishes them well. It's difficult for Gary, and he says that, but he's mature and fairly friendly about it. Then Giuseppe goes over to Steph and tells her about Gary checking out, and he says that he doesn't feel it's fair for him to be taking up space if she has no intention of choosing him and her heart is with Leroy, so he checks himself out as well. The next morning we find out that there are a few guests coming. Sparkle's best friend, Steph's dad, and Brooke's sister. Brooke's sister asks some questions like where they'll be living after this whole thing, but Brooke and Crew haven't quite figured it out yet. Kamisha, Sparkle's best friend, meets Steven. Shut it down, please, Kamisha. You're our only hope. She isn't really feeling it, and she side-eyes the fact that Steven is Steph's son a little bit. Quentin is really impressive when he meets Steph's dad. Very chill, not trying too hard, but he was able to clearly state his intentions without making over-the-top proclamations or promises. Leroy fumbled the "do you want kids" question badly. Like, even Steven managed to answer it in a fairly mature way. Like, he could just be optimistically vague. Like, sure, maybe one day if we get to know each other more, this is something that I would like. If it's something that he wants, of course. It's not like Steph's dad was expecting a commitment statement from him there and then. Anyway, Steph's dad thinks that he's a player and he prefers Quentin. I agree, but unfortunately, I don't see much chemistry between Quentin and Steph. Steph's dad also has a kind of adorable old man crush on Sparkle. At checkout time, my jaw literally fell to the ground when Sparkle chooses Steven. I've been so against this pairing, I don't even know what to say at this point. I really thought that Akio was going to pull through at the last moment. I am very shocked. Anyway, that's episode 7. Okay, so it's episode 8, and Taye Diggs hasn't been back since day 1. We've been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and led astray by that empty promise that he was going to be some kind of host. He's on the poster, for goodness sake. Anyway, yesterday, Crew did tell Brooke's sister that he's falling for her. He also says that Utah's only a 9-hour drive away, but eventually he could do tattooing anywhere. It's a very optimistic leaving the door open for the future, which at this point I think is all really anyone can honestly say. She asks him if he's ready for a family, and he says that he is huge on family. They're on the same page about that. Sparkle and Steven have a chat. I think he's from Florida and she's from Atlanta, Georgia. It's a 6-hour drive, so I don't know. Anyway, they have their first kiss as well. Steph and Leroy chat, and he says that he wants a normal long-distance relationship. She tells him that she's falling for him, and he tells her he doesn't know what that means. He's never been in this situation before, and I'm terrified of what he's going to say next. But he says that he's falling for her too. I don't know about this. I have a bad feeling. Brooke goes over and asks Crew if he wants to come over to her quarters to spend the night with her. So anyway, they have a really nice night together, and finally we're reaching the end of the show. Taye Diggs decides to show up, and he asks the women about their experience, and he tells them that they need to decide whether they want to check out alone or with one of the men. He's just there for 1 minute and then he's gone again. Crew tells Brooke that he wants to leave with her because he loves her, and they check out together. Sparkle says that she wants to keep this going outside of the hotel, so she checks out with Steven. Then, in a plot twist, Steph tells Leroy that she can't leave with him. She's choosing herself, and it's been a very long time since she did that. She needs to continue finding herself. I breathed a huge sigh of relief here. She's good though. She feels as though she's got her groove back. And I really love this for her. And I love the way that Taye Diggs said it. It was pretty perfect. That Brooke found love, Sparkle found fun, and Steph found herself. And yeah, that was Back in the Groove. This was such a random show that I don't think a lot of people were watching, but I don't know, it was kind of wholesome and fun. If you have seen it, feel free to share your thoughts, and thank you for watching.